Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's album review. We are reviewing Harry Styles' album, simply called Harry Styles. Brett chose the album, so Brett, go ahead and tell us what you thought of it.
Okay. So I'm going to give you two words that pretty much sum this album up for me, and then I might go in a little bit more detail. The two words would be bang average. I found it just a real typical. Like if I had to pick sort of an album, to what you think like an average album be, it'd probably be this. 10 tracks seems about right. We probably expect from an album, two or three hits from that album. During sort of a little bit of mixture of songs. Didn't hate it, didn't absolutely love it. It was just proper middle of the road album for me. Now I don't know if maybe I feel very treated from the last series. We had some, a couple of really good sort of albums from that, and even albums that I wasn't too familiar with that really sort of surprised me and felt I wanted to listen to it again. After listening to this album once, didn't feel the urge to want to have to listen to it again. Um, the songs didn't feel that memorable for me. But saying that, they were nice, good songs. It definitely has a certain, and this is really no pun intended, style to it. Um, very British, and it feels like it's what I would say next way, a very marketed album. So obviously Harry Styles being from One Direction, big massive fan base, is obviously going to sell lots of the albums, and just felt for his fans, it's an album tailored to them. If that kind of makes any form of sense there at all. But I say it was good. It just wasn't anything overly special. I did like a few songs from there. I said I did know a couple of them already. Um, and yeah, I think that's what I can really say sort of about the album. It obviously, it's an album that did very, very well, not just in Europe and America as well. But I think that's purely down to the Harry Styles name and his history. But yeah, that's what I can say on the album.
Okay. There's a few things in there that I have a different opinion on, which we'll get to in a moment. So I didn't like the album, to be honest, didn't like it. But I did, I did kind of, I suppose, I thought it was an interesting album in the terms of the music styles. I thought there were differences between the songs.
Yeah.
And one thing that maybe surprised me a little bit, and this is maybe where we disagree with each other here, is I was surprised by the album because when I think of when I think of Harry Styles, I think of One Direction. I quite like One Direction, I guess, for some of their songs. I don't know One Direction very well, but the songs that I like are kind of just very poppy, sort of typical pop songs. So I was expecting the same sort of thing with this album, but I feel as though Harry Styles has gone in a different direct. There's a pun here. It's gone in a different direction with his style here, and I just felt it was very different from One Direction. I felt the music was a more sophisticated than what I was expecting. So I think he's taken. I had done a little bit of research on this, to be fair, but he has done got some of his music ideas from people from the past. So some of his stuff was more psychedelic, for example. It's nothing. I never heard anything like that from One Direction. He's gone for more kind of rock elements to his music as well. So and that's not really my sort of scene, psychedelic rock and all that. So I did feel that it was very different from One Direction. And I wrote down here, I can't imagine, again, where we disagree, I can't imagine that fans of your typical fan of One Direction, who, I don't know, maybe I'm generalizing, but I'm kind of thinking, young girls that are, oh, Harry Styles, I love him. I can't imagine that those sort of people would like this sort of music because I just feel it's very different and it's not that sort of typical kind of pop that he was producing when he was part of One Direction. So I don't know, I may be wrong, but I just got a feeling he may have lost some fans here because it's not really the sort of stuff that they've listened to. Maybe I'm just thinking about myself. I don't know.
No, as I said, I probably wasn't very clear of that. So yeah, I agree. So when I was going through the tracks, I definitely felt sort of a very British feel to it, which I think is a big marketing ploy for them. Definitely felt some old-fashioned sort of rock. We'll go through some of those as we go through the songs, which then after reading up, it was clear and obvious. I said, okay, definitely get that feeling there. The reason I say with the marketing, because obviously, don't forget, those One Direction fans also growing up. So that's what I'm saying. They're not young little girls anymore. They've grown up, and this is sort of the type of music they'll start getting into. They're not the same as when they were the first fans of One Direction. So when I said, it's targeting to his market, talking about now sort of young middle-aged teenagers now. And don't get me wrong, there might be probably still a lot of fans who probably don't like the style of music. And I totally get that as well. But I said it's now definitely a more mature young girl audience that they are appealing to, rather than, and because I knew a couple of songs already, I knew it wasn't going to be old school One Direction style, very poppy. I knew what I was sort of going to be into with that already. That's what I'm saying in terms of marketing, in terms of how his fans are sort of growing up, and probably girls that don't want to be listening to old school One Direction cheesy pop. They want to now grow up and listen to more mature music. So that's what I meant by that.
Okay. Just one thing I wanted to ask you, like, because again, it's something that I didn't quite agree with you on, is that you said it was had a very British feel. For me, it had a very American feel, and that's one thing I didn't like about it. I'll explain what I mean, and you can tell me what you meant by yours. But I just felt like there's a song, for example, Carolina, and he's singing about, I don't know, maybe Harry Styles lives in America now. I don't know, but the whole song Carolina was very, very American. With like talking about, I think the place, whatever it was, South Carolina, North Carolina, I don't know, and they're talking about the West Coast, East Coast. It's a very Americanized song, and I felt that throughout the album. I just thought, ever since New York, another Americanized song. It didn't feel British. I felt like look, he could do whatever he wants. I just felt as though he was targeting the American market, and he'd gone very American. Everything sounded very American to me. I didn't feel the Britishness at all. So I don't know. What did you mean?
Exactly that. So again, I didn't explain very well. Definitely marketed to the American market, but I think what appeals to it is that, and yes, there is a lot of sort of American types of songs, and it's very sort of American, but in sort of subconsciously, there's a lot of sort of British feeling to it. I think I sound a bit of sort of Pink Floyd, which I know you're a big fan of, Beatles, Rolling Stones, which also target a lot of their stuff also for the American market as well. So it's the Americans love sort of the British, sounding voice, and kind of, and we are known for bringing out sort of good rock music. I'm not saying this is really good rock music, but again, agree with you, definitely marketing tailored to an American market, but it does have sort of British elements, which makes it appealing for the American market. Okay, if that helps make sense of that. And again, I'm only assuming that, but that's sort of the feeling I got from it. You're totally right. Definitely an American feel to it, but I said there's a lot of sort of British influence to it as well.
Yeah. Okay. So that all makes sense. So yeah, I think that's the longest ever kind of introduction we've ever done. Yeah.
Which is good because I actually haven't got a lot to probably say about each song, so it felt quite the same throughout. So hopefully it'll balance out.
Yeah, I mean, that's another interesting thing. Like I was saying at the beginning, I thought it was quite different. For me, it didn't feel the same. But we'll go through each song and we'll talk about it. So the first one, Meet Me in the Hallway. So obviously, I think whenever you get an album's first song, you expect, or you want kind of a really good impression. You want a good start, and we didn't get that for me. I felt it was just a drab start, just a bit sort of boring, echoey voice. As I understand, I think the song Meaning was about trying to work out a relationship problem. And I noted down here, very different to One Direction. And obviously that was the case throughout the whole album. But a bad start to the album for me is just, you know, a bit somber, a bit drab, not really what I was hoping for.
Yeah. Like I said, I knew I was coming into the album, so I wasn't overly surprised by it. I found it was an okay song. I say it wasn't amazing, blow me away. I just thought it was just as I said from the start, an average, just an okay good side. It definitely had a sort of psychedelic feel to it there, and I think it's sort of, you can tell what you were getting in for with the album.
Okay. Sign of the Times was next. I put down quite a powerful song, had rock elements to the song. So this is where I was really kind of understanding that that he's really gone down the rock side of things. Found he had a high pitched voice part. Longest song on the album, wasn't bad, and I could appreciate this song. I mean, for me, I'd say this is the best of a bad bunch. I'm pretty sure I'm not going to want to download this, but yeah, this one was probably the best, I think, for me.
Yeah. So this was his debut single, and this was his song there to for himself as, you know, as a single artist now. Did very well in the charts. Yeah, really good sort of rock pop ballads. I liked it when I first heard it. I liked it again when I listened to it again. I would consider it on my download list. It's weird because obviously I wasn't used, because normally I probably heard like a radio edit version, so it's normally a lot shorter. So this felt, when I thought we may have finished, it just sort of carried on without much more to it. So it did go a little bit long than I was probably used to, but generally a very good ballad song.
Okay. Then we had Carolina, and I've written down here, why is an English guy singing as though he's American? It annoyed me a bit. I don't know. West Coast, Carolina, American sounding music, poor song. I wrote down American rock and roll.
Yeah. I say it's, I guess, for the market, and, you know, very sort of American rock to it. So you're asking why was it called Carolina? So yeah, it is based on South Carolina, and apparently the story is that he got put onto a blind date with someone. They hit off really well, and he was at the time where he was doing this album, and he wrote this song about her, and she was from South Carolina. I can't remember her name. I don't think really that important, but she was from South Carolina. So he dedicated and wrote a song about her.
Okay. Did you like the song?
Yeah, I did. It doesn't sound very convincing. I thought it was okay. It kind of reminds me, so Robbie Williams also, this is why I probably get a good feel from this, because it's very sort of Robbie Williams, who's obviously very British and tries to put a lot of Britishness in it, but it's also targeted to American market and sings a lot of sort of American style songs, an American way. And that's what this kind of felt like from that, really. Wasn't my favorite there, but it was an alright song.
Okay. Then we had Two Ghosts. For me, there was something lacking. Wasn't energetic enough, and just expected a lot more. I think maybe that's my biggest criticism of the album, just in general, not energetic enough. And obviously that's the style he's gone for. I feel with this like kind of psychedelic rock, it's not really energetic for me. I don't like it. I'm not saying every song on here is psychedelic rock, but there's lots of different types of styles on here. But just in general, that I found the album to be just a little bit too lackluster, I guess, like not upbeat enough, maybe.
Yeah. Because you generally got sort of the two songs on this album, which would more like Carolina's one of them. We'll get onto what the other one would be as well. But yeah, that's what I mean. It just sort of, and with this one, it's a song I knew before as well. And to me, it's just a nice song. I said it didn't blow me away. It's kind of forgettable if you don't listen to it often enough. But it's nothing against the song. I think it's a nice written song, enjoyable, but that's it really.
Okay. Sweet Creature. A simple song on acoustics, quite a nice song, but the Sweet Creature part with the high voice is just annoying and spoils the song.
Yeah, so I very sort of Beatles influence feeling to this one here. As a result, actually, not because it was Beatles, I just actually did quite like the song. I can totally get with the chorus of him singing that, but I just think it's a bit varies and it's a little bit, again, a nice song. Again, kind of forgettable, really, but it just makes a nice sort of, sit in your home, lounge, listen to it. Good song. So I would consider this one also on my final playlist.
Okay. And then for me, the album suddenly turned on its head. So we had Only Angel, name of the song. Spa music starts. It's really kind of like listening to spa music for the first, I don't know, 30 seconds maybe. And then it's suddenly out of nowhere just turned into this kind of loud kind of rock song. I put at the time almost a little bit of the Killers. I don't know why. Somebody just the first thing that came to my head was the Killers, who I generally don't mind. I quite like the Killers, but then no, I just didn't like the song. Stopped liking it. No longer sounded like the Killers as it went on, and
Yeah.
I preferred the first part of the song, the first whatever it was, 30 seconds of the spa part, and it was just far too rocky for me. So this was the first real rock song on the album. The previous five were just had rock elements to them, most of them, but this was a real kind of harder rock song, and I just didn't like it.
Yeah, it's definitely more. Interesting Killers, I totally get that as well. I kind of put along the lines Rolling Stones as well, but I don't think that was a good thing. And yeah, that's what I wrote here. Spa music. It just felt like being spa. It'd been really interesting if this was actually, I wrote here, the first track on the album. So imagine new Harry Styles put it on, you're listening, so hear this spa music. And I think it's a good way to, it's almost saying that's one thing, and this is, and takes you by surprise what the sort of genre is looking to go into. Again, yeah, didn't. I mean, but I think it's just an all right album song. At least it was a little bit different as well.
Okay, and then carrying on with the rock element, the next song, Kiwi. Well, where do I start with this one? Really rocky start. I mean, this was no messing around. This just got straight into it. For me, it was cheap, tacky rock. Dreadful song. At least it's short. And for me, this is the worst song on the album.
Yeah, I wouldn't go as hard as that. I think again it's but yeah, very rocky. Almost like sort of like British like punk rock. I find, or sort of. I was trying to think of a band quite like, and there's probably loads like it. Just I don't know, we almost wrote down the Libertines, but it wasn't quite like them. But very sort of trying to be British punky rock. Elements there. Again, just didn't blow me away. I probably couldn't tell you what it was like. Again, I think the words, it was just talking about having your baby, but maybe it was just sort of, I think maybe trying to over rock it, shall we say. I think he still wants to try and keep like sort of a pop element, but I just think it was a bit too far from it. That's why I don't think it worked as well.
Okay. Ever Since New York. So this was like going back to the previous songs before those two rocky songs. So it was better than the previous two songs that I just listened to. But I just found it, again, rather boring. And the words "tell me something I don't already know" were just like on repeat. It was just constantly repeating that same line over and over again, and it was I just didn't like it.
Yeah, I get that. On the flip side, though, I actually quite like this. This might actually be my favorite song from the album. Maybe it's because after those rock bits, suddenly felt a bit nicer. I've written the band sort of Travis and Snow Patrol. Again, sort of that British soft pop rock. But again, even though I've said that, I can't probably overly remember it all that well. I couldn't sing it back. I couldn't tell you too much more about it. But I do remember quite listening to it and actually enjoying it in that sense. So it's my sort of surprise potential favourites on the album.
Woman. I just put down boring. I didn't write anything else for this. Just again, it just didn't get me going. It wasn't of any interest to me. It wasn't terrible. I think for me, the word boring pretty much sums up this album. There's a few on there that, as I said, I really don't like Kiwi, for example, but just a boring song with a pretty boring album for me.
Yeah, and I think that's why I say sort of average. Because again, I think this again we had slow songs before, but this is now just trying again now a little bit too slow. Weird sort of noise or sound effects in the background, which I couldn't stop listening to, which sort of put me off it a little bit. Wasn't big, like I said, it just doesn't go too far. Ends up being quite forgettable, and I know you'll say boring, but for me, just average, just nothing exciting overly to say about it really.
Yeah. The last song, From the Dining Table, quietest song I've ever heard. Boring. Again, it was like singing so quietly, and it was just, I don't know, it was just, what is this? Just never got going. The song, obviously, it was never supposed to get going. It was just a quiet song. Yeah, it's just the kind of song ended. I was like, okay, and that's that. It was like, yeah, what a forgettable album.
Yeah, that's all. I said I don't mean I agree with that, and I said, but to me, I do think it's probably better than, even though it can't be remembered. This one, um, it's sort of acoustic, soft pop style, which I generally quite like. But I said it's sort of, you can hear loads of songs like that, and they're nice to listen to, and then not meant to be used to remembered and then try and sing along to, or keep singing the head down. I think that's so it. I actually didn't feel like or sound like it was Harry Styles at all.
Mm.
Whether that's a compliment or negative or positive, I don't know. But I said I do like this style of music. I do quite like that. But I said again, just very forgettable. I said once that album finished, I didn't feel the urge to want to have to listen to the album again or listen to any of the songs um, for a game. But I said it wasn't an awful song, but it was nice, but forgettable.
Yeah, I think it's over. I think if we're summing up here, it looks like for you, you definitely like the album more than me, based on what we've just been through. Um,
Yeah.
for you, it's just average. For me, yeah, I just found it below average, I guess. Just not enough going on, or some songs were just not for me at all. So I'm disappointed. I think maybe because it is Harry Styles, and I know that I like some of the One Direction stuff. I was just hoping, when I saw the album come up, oh, Harry Styles, oh yeah, he's from One Direction. This might be all right. But the fact he's taken a style of music that doesn't appeal to me. Okay, I haven't listened to his next album. I don't know what that'll be like, but if he's gone down that road, that path, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that style of music. It's just I personally don't like it. So yeah, for me, disappointed. I think would be the word here. But as I said at the beginning of the review, I did say I do appreciate his the fact he's trying to use different elements there of music from, as you said, the Beatles, maybe some psychedelic rock from maybe Pink Floyd, that sort of stuff. So yeah, I can appreciate that a little bit, but it's just not for me.
Yeah, I get that. I said, yeah, so I agree. I think I did like it a bit more than you did. As I said from the start, not a bad album, just a nice, as I said before, an average album. It will be quite interesting to, when we do listen to it again, if how many of those songs sort of have an effect and if they're more memorable or seem a bit of improvements. I think different for you, I think, because you'll now know what you're going into and expecting. You mentioned about his other album, and I said I know a couple of songs from his other album, and it is that same sort of style. It seems sort of British American rock, bit different, not pop One Direction style. Um, but yeah, I think there'll be a lot of people who probably really do like this album. I think it's an album for the right person at the right age at the right time who would probably get a lot of enjoyment out of that. But I said, not a bad one, just didn't blow me away. That's all.
Okay, well there we go. That sums up our review of Harry Styles. Harry Styles. So yeah, thanks for listening and watching, and we will see you on Wednesday for the next album choice, and then on Sunday for the review of that album. See you.